Welcome back to our series on No-Sew Quilt Crafts. I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service, your family and consumer science agent. For this series, we are looking at some options for those of us who love quilts and all that goes along with them, but maybe don't sew or don't have a place to sew. These are some ways you can capture that feel of a quilt and have a beautiful gift to give and something to share with others. I'm going to share with you a little bit today about how to make these into maybe some memorial gifts that we've talked about before. So last time we talked about barn quilt squares and how to make a very simple, easy to put together craft. These are all relatively inexpensive things that you can do. Everything that I'm showing you today is stuff that we had in the stash that when I just went through the craft closet and pulling things out, there they were. So if you're already a crafter, if you're not a crafter, there's some easy ways to go into whether it's the craft store or the discount store or the big box store and pick up some things that you can put together to make these simple type items. So today we're gonna do, this is a quilted ornament. Christmas ornament is what this one is going to be, okay? I remember, these are very old-fashioned. I remember making these with my grandmother when I was a kid. And so this is something that gives you that very traditional feel. You could make these, we're gonna try it at my house out of ribbons that the kids have won on some of their exhibits or at horse shows throughout the years. You can do this with, if you have something that belonged to someone special in your life. For instance, we have some ties that belong to my grandfather, or we have handkerchiefs that belong to my great-grandmother. That obviously, what are we going to do with those? We need a way to display them, to utilize those. So these are some great ideas for how you might reuse those as opposed to just new fabric. This is all scrap fabric that again, we picked up. I found a bag that had all of these different Christmas squares, and these were just about the right size to cut down to be able to make, that one got away, to be able to make an ornament. So I actually have the smaller one, and it's put together. It's a regular, what would be a 3-inch styrofoam ball. So again, there's the large package of these. You can make several. And then these are just basic 2.5-inch squares. Okay, so what you're gonna do, you're gonna cut all your squares, depending on whatever patterns, whatever you wanna use to make your ornament. Now, I did use on that one, I also used some burlap to do, which was a little more difficult. I don't know that I would recommend this all the time, again, unless it's something you just happen to have on hand and you wanna try. I do like how it accents and how it adds to things, but it was a little harder to put the pins in and do all of this stuff. So it's gonna take around 30 different squares to go on your ball and around 175 to 200 pins. So you're gonna wanna buy a big package unless you have some stashed away like we do around for your straight pins. So these are just standard straight pins. If you wanna get fancy, you can always use the ones with the colored tops. They make some with pearls and all kinds of little cutesy, neat things that you can do. Again, maybe you have some of those on hand to just do decorative. But these plain old straight pins definitely will work for this project. So I did go ahead and pull out, this is a larger ball. This is what technically is 5.6 inch, so 6-inch for this one to make a larger one. This so that you could see better, just so I could hold it. Again, they don't have to be Christmas. This can be a great decoration that you put out anytime just to add that pop of color on a shelf, or maybe you want to throw it in a decorative bowl that sits out on your coffee table. There's a lot of great ways to fill that in. So just a foam ball, and you can have the pressed foam or the styrofoam. You can also use this very same technique, folding the squares, putting them on the item, to just do, this is just a foam wreath frame, which I'm gonna lose another one if I'm not careful, which again, was very inexpensive. Can pick these up at the craft store. And sometimes you can come across them even at one of the dollar stores where you can pick that up and then just add all of your accents to it. So the way that you make the basic ball, there's 2 different ways you can start. This one is with a solid, the first square is just on there solid as the square. So this is, if you have something, a picture that you want to do or a specific piece of fabric, you can see I've got the sunflower in there so that it's going to show as opposed to being folded up inside of the little diamonds that we're going to make here in just a second. So you can do that, or you can start with 4 of your diamonds in the middle, and that's going to start the point of your star so that your star just grows out from there. Okay, everything is just attached with a pin. So basically, like I said, this one we have our star in the middle. Then I've started off, because this was a 6-inch ball, I went ahead and cut these as 4-inch squares. I didn't completely double the size of the square because it's just under 6 inches, and a 5-inch square was pretty big. So these are just 4-inch squares. So what you're gonna do, once you have all of your squares cut, you're gonna fold them into the triangle, and then we wanna crease it. Now you can iron them all as you go if you want that real precise, really tight, but you don't have to. So I just kind of run my fingernail down it to get it a little stiffer, and then we're gonna fold it over again just to get me another crease. We're not gonna leave that one. So now I can see where the middle is in my square. I'm gonna take a pin, put a pin through the middle. You can pin it from the top if that's easier for you, or you can put it through the middle and then press it down into the ball so that this first pin is inside the fabric. So when I picked this up, the hardest thing I thought of this whole project, you cut your squares, you lay them out, you can do your creases, get all that done, is figuring out for sure where the pieces go. So there's a couple different ways you can do that. You can just measure with your finger. If you're okay with maybe it's a little off, but it's gonna be okay, it's all gonna fit in. Pull out the trusty seam gauge, mark, okay, I wanna make sure that all of these are about a 1/2 inch from the center. So you find your center and move that down. I was using mostly my thumb. I have a divot here that tells me where the center is, and I wanna go, okay, that's about how far this one needs to go. So I'm gonna slide the next one in, and I'm just gonna, about right there, okay, push that piece. Now I do recommend, and I don't know where it got set, but particularly with these that are the tighter foam, you probably wanna have a thimble or something that you can use. I often use like just the flat of my scissors to press that, or even like a butter knife to help push those pins in all the way, because it does get a little hard on your fingers, particularly using the ones that just have the flat tops. So then we just have it on here as our cute little folded triangle. So all we have to do is make the diamond piece. So to do that, we're gonna take our first, if I can get it to lay flat, take our first edge and meet it back up on that center crease that we made. So we're just gonna line that up, and we're gonna put another pin. Okay, then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, pull it in. Okay, and then see, I didn't get this one quite tight enough when I go back to do it. All I have to do, that's again the nice thing about this, we're not dealing with a bunch of glue and things that if we need to adjust, I'm just gonna pull my pin and put it back through in the right spot. Grab another pin and pin the other side. Now, again, if you want a nice, crisp, clean layer, you'll go ahead and put a pin in each corner on the side to make those lay flat. So we've taken our square, we folded it in half, and then we've brought our corners to the middle to make this diamond shape that's going to form the pieces of our star. And you can see, And I may have to add a pin there because I got a spot pulling loose. So when we get all the way around, that's what you're gonna have, are these nice crisp points to your star, okay? Go all the way, make a round to cover that, and then all you gotta do is move down for the next one, and it's just the same thing over and over. You pick your patterns, you decide how you want them to go, and then you just continue down with the layers. So I've started off the next layer with this pretty yellow to bring in that sunflowery feel. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm gonna show you just one more. Put the crease, another crease, open it up, put a pin right in the middle, and then same thing. I want to line this up with this one to make that next set of points over my green. So I figure out where that is, pop that in there, turn my fabric how I need it, and then I'm gonna bring these edges in. And we're gonna do that typically with this size of fabric, and you can start off, you can draw your lines out so that you have more of a framework to go by. Obviously, I just kind of want to start and go, and then if I need to make adjustments, I will. This ball already has a center line that goes around the middle, so that's going to tell me I probably only need one more row to finish this out because that equator line is right here. So then I will add my next color, whatever that happens to be. I have more of this sunflower fabric. And that will go right on in between the yellow ones to finish that off. Okay? So then we're gonna flip it. So we're gonna do half the ball, and then we're gonna flip it, and we're gonna find that base. Okay, there's a couple different ways you can do that. If you haven't already drawn out what you're gonna do, if you have your top base, you can set this on something sharp. You can set it down on a pencil, scribble with pencil and do it and rub it so that you have a mark that you know exactly where the middle is. So you're gonna start on the other side. Again, you can do this piece, that's a solid square where we just go ahead and we put our whole square down and pin it around to make the middle, and then begin to add our points. Or we can add our points so that they meet in the middle and just keep working out for the star. So those are some choices that you make in your patterns based on what you have for fabrics. So once you have done that on both sides, you finished the top, you flipped it over, you finished the bottom, we have this middle piece that is the struggle, right? We have these raw edges, these extra things. So you're gonna choose whatever type of a finish you want. So I found some, again, in our stash, this pretty, just a kind of a unique little puffy ruffle, some lace we found, just some plain ribbon, whatever it is that you want to finish that off. Or you can take the fabric and roll it into a small piece to go around. And so here, again, you can pin it. This might be where you do want to break out the hot glue to put on there. But we're just gonna run this around the middle because that's gonna cover up all of those edges and extra pieces and give us a clean finish. If you then want to hang it, okay, again, this one might just sit on a shelf. We don't need a hanger. If we're using them as Christmas ornaments, as we were doing with this, with all of our Christmas fabric and patterns, you're gonna add a hanger. Again, it can be the same ribbon that went around the middle. We have these pretty sparkly, just little strings that we can add to the top that you can pin in there. You can make a little hole and even add a little dab of glue if you feel like you need it. You can embellish that. These are just cute little holly pieces that we found. Again, maybe in your Christmas stash, you have leftover things or old things or even old decorations. that you're not using anymore that you can pull from and put together for your items. So a cute, simple craft. It can be a little tedious, but it can also be very relaxing. You're just repeating those patterns over and over. It doesn't take a lot of space to set up and be able to put it together. So it can be something kind of fun just to hang out. Again, maybe even something to do with the grandkids. Again, I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service, your family and consumer science agent. We have 2 more spots to go talking about our no-sew quilt crafts.